evening. The sun is just shining so bright and it's so lovely on this early days of spring. I'm Stephanie George. I want to call to order the meeting. We have 4 trustees present, including Eric Fong, Susan Whitford, Gina Beckwith-Steiner. Sue, do you want to get us started with the...
Sure. So the mission statement is inspiring our community to dream more, learn more, do more, and be more.
Great, thank you. Jason, do you have any comments to open us up with?
Just want to say welcome, everyone. Happy to be here, and let's take it away.
Great, great. Tammy, do we have any additions or changes to the agenda of note?
No, we have no changes to the agenda as posted prior to the meeting.
Okay. Well, our next agenda item is public comment. I believe we have 4 submissions for public comment, which Tammy, we've asked Tammy to read.
Okay. So our first public comment is from Olivia Muzzy, received on Monday, 21st. Dear Board of Trustees, I wanted to inform you that recording public meetings is legal per the Washington State Office of the Attorney General. She provides a website link. Quote, a county does not have authority to ban video or sound recording of a meeting required to be open to the public by the Open Public Meetings Act, RCW 4230. County could regulate recording only to the extent necessary to preserve order at the meeting and facilitate public attendance, end quote. Additionally, there is this reference from the Washington Public Library Trustee Wiki. She provides a link. May the public make an audio or video recording of a board meeting, ? Although the act does not specifically address whether the public may make an audio or video recording of a meeting, there is general agreement that recording is permitted if it is not disruptive. AG Opinion AG 0, 1998, number 15, provides additional clarification regarding recordings of official proceedings. The board accepts tax dollars for library operations to provide vital services to the community, and the public is asking for an easily accessible public record demonstrating how the library leadership conducts its business with those dollars. Members of our staff union have also expressed interest in having the board meetings recorded and posted, as not all staff are able to attend the meetings during the scheduled time, and they want to be aware of what is going on at the leadership level of our organization. Recording and sharing the board trustees meetings in video format, will live with live transcription enabled, in parentheses, would be a big step forward in providing access in full detail so that the public and staff can stay engaged and informed on library business. In addition to the 12 organizations I listed in my previous letters as examples of local municipalities and organizations who record and post their public board meetings, I also learned that Timberline Regional Library has been recording and posting videos of their board meetings, parentheses, virtual and in-person, end parentheses, since 2012. She provides a link. And click on, quote, AV Capture All, end quote, to access the recordings. I'm sharing this resource to demonstrate that there is a precedent for this practice, especially as the board considers how public meetings will be conducted in the future, parentheses, whether virtual, in-person, or hybrid, and parentheses, in all cases, access needs to be priority so that the public and staff can stay informed. Thank you for your continued attention to this important issue. Olivia Muzzy, MLIS, Shop Steward, WPEA. Our next one is from Garrett Knobs, received March 18th. To the trustees, I am writing with sincere concern for the continued conduct of the board. In the minutes you have posted for the February meeting, you have stated, and I quote, President Stephanie George noted that the board is aware of unofficial recordings of the Board of Trustees meetings being posted on a YouTube video channel, that those attending may not have been aware that they were being recorded, nor had given permission to do so. I made particular note of the president's remarks while I was in attendance because the actual words used went far beyond what was included in the minutes and were sincerely chilling. Quote, ... A couple of our meetings have been recorded and posted on YouTube, ... We are going to take those down only because you can't record people without their knowledge, ... We will be taking those down only because they were not recorded internally and they were not recorded using state law around letting people know that they are being recorded, end quote. This was a stunning assertion, both for its contradiction of actual state law and the nature of public meetings in general, and for its assumption of power not granted to the board over the flow of information. Information which does not properly belong to the board, but rather the public. The Open Public Meeting Act state explicitly, the legislature finds and declares that all public commissions, boards, councils, committees, subcommittees, departments, divisions, offices, and all of the public agencies of this state and subdivisions thereof exist to aid in the conduct of the people's business. It is the intent of this chapter that their actions be taken openly and that their deliberations be conducted openly. The people of the state do not yield their sovereignty to the agencies which serve them. The people in delegating authority do not give their public servants the right to decide what is good for the people to know and what is not good for them to know. The people insist on remaining informed so that they may retain control over the instruments they have created. Parentheses RCW 42.30.010 and parentheses. The legal language quoted here was ratified by our state government over the 5 decades ago. Further, in 1998, the Washington State Attorney General's office further clarified, quote, a county does not have authority to ban video or sound recording of a meeting required to be open to the public by the Open Public Meetings Act, RCW 42.30. The county could regulate recording only to the extent necessary to preserve order at the meeting and facilitate public attendance, end quote. Permission of participants is not required to record a public meeting. By the very nature of the meeting, one attends with tacit understanding that one is participating in a public forum, which may be recorded by virtue of the very fact. All participants, including board members, should be aware of this when attending. This is the second time that I have felt compelled to write about the conduct of this board and actions it has taken to silence public input and limit transparency around its business. This is downright bizarre to see from the board of a public library. In this dark hour of our world's history, when we are seeing the true value of an open society juxtaposed against a closed autocracy, I hope the board would take to heart the importance of the fact that our legal code clearly delineates that these meetings are public, that the business which the public delegates to the board remains public, and that the interests of the board represent are those of the public. Thank you, Garrett Knobs, Bremerton, and he includes the reference site for the quotes involved. The next one we have from Stell, Susan Bisnet. Carroll Board of Trustees, public meetings of the time of COVID have been a learning curve for everybody, with the future of the pandemic uncertain and a significant shift to remote participation. Versatility and competence in shifting venues for conducting public meetings is a must. Having recently attended local city council and planning commission meetings, I've learned that all public meetings are recorded. A simple announcement is made at the beginning that the meeting is being recorded, and a red quote, recording, end quote, message shows throughout. The public has access to recordings of all public meetings conducted by Zoom during COVID. If a citizen has a scheduled conflict or simply wants to view past meetings to better understand an issue, the public record is readily available. Public libraries are all about access to information, and deliberation transparency is a core ethic of the public entity. Recording and posting Carroll Board of Trustees meetings seems as essential, quote unquote, best practice to better serve the public. Thank you, Susan Bisnet. And that was received on Monday, the 21st, March 21st. Our final letter is from, and I apologize if I have this wrong, Seamus Petrie, received on Monday, March 21st. To the members of the Kitsap Regional Library Board, Trustees, at the February 22nd trustee meeting, I was disappointed and surprised to hear that the Board of Trustees would attempt to take down video recordings of public trustees meetings. Board President Stephanie George stated that the board would, quote unquote, take those down because, quote, you can't record people without their knowledge, end quote. I am sincerely curious to know how the board reached this conclusion. Could the board please share the reasoning, in parentheses, legal or otherwise, in parentheses, for why they claim recording an open public meeting is prohibited? It is certainly true that the state prohibits recording of conversations without the consent of all involved if the parties have a reasonable expectation of privacy. Due to the meeting settings, no faces or voices of meeting attendees are visible in the recording. Those presenting at the open public meeting are the only ones who could be recorded. Does the board think that they have a reasonable expectation of privacy at a meeting that is legally required to be open to the public? This is not legal, esoteric, or obscure point. I'm not an attorney or any kind of expert on the Open Public Meeting Act. I simply use Google to search for, quote, video recording a public meeting in Washington State, end quote. The first result is an Attorney General's office opinion stating that counties cannot prohibit recording of public meetings under RCW 42.30, parentheses, AGO 1998, number 15, and parentheses. The Municipal Research and Service Center has an article from 2019 on the topic stating that, quote, citizens likely do have the right to record any government business that occurs in areas open to the public examination, end quote, and he provides a link. Both these sources are written in the plainest language possible. I've always understood public libraries to be freely accessible sources of accurate information. It is not clear to me at all that the KRL board shares this understanding. The board violated the Open Public Meetings Act in November when it required members of the public to provide their name and email addresses in order to watch the meeting. Parentheses, thankfully, the board changed this policy once they were reminded that their actions were illegal, and parentheses. In February, when asked to make the public trustees meeting more accessible, the board said they would consider it later, then provided plainly inaccurate information to members of the public about their legal rights to access publicly available information. By taking repeated steps to avoid transparencies like this, the KRL board is harming the otherwise stellar reputation of the library it serves and undermining the hard work that staff does every day to provide the community with open access to accurate information. Any member of the public who is recording and posting trustees' meetings is doing the board and the community a favor by making the meetings more accessible. And yet, instead of celebrating transparency and community engagement, the boards would try to take those videos down. I'm glad that as I write this, the videos are still up. Perhaps the board sought a second, better considered legal opinion. Unfortunately, you have already provided misinformation to the public. I understand that public disagreement can be messy and uncomfortable, can be annoying to have your work scrutinized by members of the public, but it's not worth it to break the law, parentheses, as you did in November, and parentheses, or misinform the public about the rights to public information, parentheses, as you did in February, and parentheses. Thank you for your service to the members of the KRL community. I know this work isn't easy. I just wish that you, the Board of Trustees, valued open access to accurate information, much as KRL staff does. Seamus Petrie. And that is the completion of the 4 correspondence received.
Thank you, Tammy, and I want to thank all of our stakeholders who submitted those public comments. We're a relatively new board with new professional leadership, and we are all operating in a changed and changing environment for sure. On behalf of my colleagues on the board, I assure you that transparency is important and it's valued by all of us, as is the ability to be reflective when considering how to respond to changing or otherwise challenging circumstances. In this case, to fully consider all of the elements related to and supportive of equal public access and community participation. KRL is in need of a number of policy updates. You'll be seeing a few this evening, and in the future, we will be including an update where we're looking at our policy and practices that affirm equal public access. Comments such as those that were offered tonight are definitely appreciated and will be taken into consideration. Thank you. With that, we're going to move to the consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted in one motion by the Board of Trustees with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired, items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda by request. So I ask my colleagues on the board, are there any items within the consent agenda that you would like to be considered separately, or can we move forward?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as listed.
Thank you, Sue. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Eric. It's been approved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next up, I don't want to miss anything here. Board member reports. Anybody have anything to report about activities in the community?
Sure. I'll go, or Sue, did you want to go first?
Go ahead, Eric. That's fine.
Okay, thanks. From a KRL Foundation perspective, we had our first board meeting with Jason recently, and we glad to have him in our foundation meeting, and also welcomed a new board member, Deborah Holland, who's been in Kitsap County for over 20 years and has over 30 years of experience in nonprofits. So really excited to add a new board member. Outside of the foundation, BPL had its annual retreat via Zoom, the Bainbridge Public Library group, and that was on last Saturday, and Jason attended as well. It was great to hear them discuss their mission to take care of the facilities for BPL over the next year, and it was great to have Jason there. They were really excited to meet him, and they gave Jason about an hour to share his story and share his vision. It was a really nice gathering.
Thank you, Eric.
Great. I attended let's see, I guess it was a steering committee meeting for the South Kitsap Community Center. It didn't really address much for the library per se, but it was more kind of a site development meeting. So that was the meeting that I attended.
Thank you. Gina, do you have anything to offer tonight?
No, just forward looking that Jason's going to come out and meet with the tribe, and so are some of the KRL staff and some of the branch staff from Boston, and we're just looking for opportunities to collaborate and see how we can be of service to one another.
Great.
Thanks.
Yeah, good. Thank you all. The only work I've done separate from the meeting is to try to provide some connections, although he doesn't need them at all, to give to Jason for others to meet in the community. So he's out and about, and I'm running across people who have already run across him. So if people have ideas of who Jason should be meeting and connecting and talking to in the community, please let him know. So look forward to hearing more from you, Jason, about that. Finance Committee report. Sue, do you want to talk about that?
Unmute myself here. Okay. So yeah, we had a Finance Committee meeting. There were just a couple things on the agenda when we talked about the financial health of KRL. And so it was reported back out that as far as the budget is concerned, we're on target. There was some discussion about a property sale, which is on the agenda for tonight. We'll go into executive session for that. And then we talked a little bit about the financial outlook and kind of looking forward with goals and things like that. We talked about ongoing facility planning to look at and plan for capital expenses for the buildings that we own. And that was it.
Sorry, I put myself on mute. Dan, would you like to follow up that report with a financial report?
I would love to do that. Thanks, Stephanie. So our financial report is we're on target for our budget. I do like to remind people when we see, tax revenue running ahead of a budget right now that's great. It helps us during these lean months because we haven't gotten a large infusion of cash from from property taxes until we don't get it until April. So we're kind of ramping up. We're getting more and more each month, but the big infusion comes in April and then later on in the year. And so we're running a little ahead, which helps us with that, but we still only get what we're authorized to get at the end of the year. So don't get excited that we may, that may grow, but it will get corrected later on at the end of the year. So entertain any questions. I have a lot of footnotes in there for things that happen. A lot of things happen at this time of the year. The one-time expenditures that we do, annual payments we make for maintenance, software maintenance, and things like that. But if there's anything in the financial report that anybody had questions on, I'll be glad to take those questions now.
Any questions for Dan?
Okay, yeah, it's pretty boring at the beginning of the year. There's just not really much to talk about. So
You always provide really good footnotes on top of it, so thank you for that.
thank you, appreciate that.
On to administrative reports. Lucretia, you're at the top of my list. Oh, sorry. You know what? I just skipped over Jason.
That's okay. Hi, everybody. Yes, Dan gives great reports, and I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of our administrative reports. But some of my highlights, and of course I won't read this verbatim, but we've got many great things happening at KRL, as you know. And so one of them that I really want to focus on this month is our wellness committee. So our small but mighty HR team has one of their offshoots is really dispatching a wellness committee that's comprised of various employees within KRL. And this month the focus is humor. And those who are around the office know that I believe in keeping things light. Certainly life is serious enough that we should have a work environment that we feel supported and we should feel happy. And we should also, have a bit of levity. So this month's topic is humor. Every month there's a different topic. And so it really talks about many of the great benefits of humor in the workplace. And so those emails, I think, have been timely. I mean, let's face it, we've been all under a great amount of, I think, stress with, the pandemic. There's a fair amount of toxic stress, and it's really palpable. And I'm a firm believer in making sure that we have a workplace that is well-rounded. So, really interested with the new HR director coming on board and a new training specialist soon to talk about how we can make sure that we keep providing resources for our employees. So I'm a big believer in trauma-informed care and practice, and so I really want to dig into how we can impart that in our workforce to our employees and give them resources and tools for being able to, to make us all whole. So, and to be able to have those conversations too. And so it's going to be important to do that. I'm looking forward to it. We're already having tough conversations, and we'll continue that. In terms of keeping the focus on human resources, we talked about it last month, but we have a new HR director who'll be starting tomorrow. Yay. So Craig Michaels will be on board tomorrow. It's his first day. And Craig was most recently the human resources manager and employee relations specialist at Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. So Craig has some extensive HR experience across multiple organizations. So we're looking forward to getting him on board tomorrow. Unfortunately, I can't meet him personally as I'm at PLA, but I'll be Zooming with him in the afternoon from the Public Library Association conference, and he's got certainly his work cut out for him. I think Kirsten's got a big list for him, and he'll be meeting with, quite a few members of the leadership team over the next several weeks to get onboarded. Silverdale grand opening. So we are fully in a reopen mode or the grand opening, I'm sorry. So invitations are going out, both via mail, email, and personal invitations being delivered. So we're excited about April 2nd. I think it's finally etched in stone that we'll be having a grand opening for the new Silverdale. So there's many thank yous to go out amongst several members of the team here, from Mike and his team to really being able to get out and make the move happen in terms of materials movement from, the old building to the new, to, Shannon, who of course is doing a phenomenal job of public services, and, the very stellar and impeccable Ashley, who's really just, got her staff kicking in the high gear. I was there Saturday to do a walkthrough and do some filming, and the branch looks great. Can't wait for it to open. We've got music and, all sorts of activities for families. So hopefully everybody can come out. It really is a gift from the community to the community. So looking forward to seeing all of you out. I know my family will be there, and hopefully as many of our employees can come out who have the opportunity to come out and see the new location. So really excited to get that building open. Mask mandate. So as you all know, on March 12th, Governor Inslee lifted the mask mandate. And so what that meant for our team here at KRL is that we talk through what that is going to look like for our employees, what that's going to look like for our patrons who are coming in. And so I think one of the biggest takeaways from that, and again, public services giving a shout out to Shannon and her team with coming up with some FAQs that we were really able to give staff to really be able to give them a clear picture of what that will look like, and really talking with the reopening teams about how we will continue to support staff. I think that's the main takeaway, is that, look, we're still very much in a phase of, our health can be precarious, as we've shown over the last 2 years. Just to know that we're still going to support staff, and whatever their, whatever health outcomes are important to them, we're still willing to listen, and we'll be talking about those. We'll still be providing masks. Staff have the opportunity to wear them, socially distance, and really, being able to keep talking about what impacts this will have on staff long term. The door isn't shut. So I think that's the important takeaway, is that we'll continue to negotiate and we'll continue to talk as the health landscape changes. And so moving on in terms of staffing, we had a number of staff movement. As you know, Jill Jean retired in February. Lisa Nabel from CTS left the organization, as well as Kelly Eastman, who was administrative assistant in the Board Foundation, has left. Changes or promotions, we had several of them in February. And pronounce me if I'm going to butcher this name. Laura Genoves has moved from library assistant to library associate at Bainbridge Island. Beth Steinbach, we're proud, has moved from library assistant at Sylvan Way to public services supervisor at Sylvan Way. And then Linda Doherty has moved from library assistant to library associate at Paulsbo. Finally, contract negotiations. So we met last on March 7th, and the bargaining team came together for another joint session. And so library presented counter proposals on a number of outstanding items. The team was able to successfully reach an agreement for one Article 29, and we set future negotiation dates that will be forthcoming. I think the 28th of March, 13th of April, and the 27th of April. We may or may not have one the 21st. I think someone can clarify that. But we're looking forward to at least continuing to negotiate with the team, continue to offer proposals and counter proposals, and in the spirit of collaboration, knowing that we have the employees' best interests at heart. I think they know that, and we'll continue to communicate that. Lastly, I met with the Kitsap County Central Labor Council on March 14th to introduce myself. I was given an invitation by Olivia Muzzy and Lisa Longmire, who are on this particular council, and so I was grateful to be able to go out to meet some of the other labor leaders that are in the county, and to talk about, their roles, and to talk about, how I intend to support Kitsap Regional Library staff, and really what that looks like is being an advocate for them, being able to listen, be transparent, and to continue to work together towards making sure that KRL is a productive and really valuable workplace for all of us. And so that's my report.
Busy report. Any questions for Jason?
And the last thing is you talked about my activities. So I continue to reach out into the community and to be able to really engage with all of our stakeholders, whether it be, present. And so part of what that's looked like is really meeting all of our teams at Carroll. As you know, I've been out to each branch. I've met most of the staff, and I'm starting now to meet with all of our work teams. And so that's happening ongoing. I've met with most of our work teams and have gone out and really, I'll talk about next month my field trip, if you will, with mobile services, which was a really exciting field trip, and got to really be able to see how they work and the valuable services that present. I could do a whole board report on that. And so we'll cover that next month. But we have so many great teams at Carroll and so many good initiatives. I'm going to try to pick apart each of these. My strategy for doing my board reports each month will be to really be able to take a look at a lot of our teams, a lot of our initiatives, to give both the board and the public who attend these meetings a clear view of what it looks like and how valuable our resources are to the community. And so next month you'll hear more, but you'll see me out in the community meeting people. And I hope to meet many of you that are on this board meeting. Thank you for coming out. I really want to thank the public for coming out. I want to thank the public for continuing to respond and to support us, and endeavor to continue to work for you too, and to make Kitsap Regional Library even stronger than it is. So thank you.
It's been a lot of nice comments, Jason, about just how, in a short order, how visible you actually have been, both internal to KRL, but in the community as well. So it's much appreciated by all, I know. Okay, Lucretia, now we'll leave the administrative reports with you.
Thank you. This is already captured in my report, but I'll revisit it here as a way to also invite the board, anyone listening, to participate with us. In April, with the help of communications, we'll launch the 21-day Racial Equity Habit Building Challenge. And the 21-day challenge was developed by Dr. Eddie Moore, Jr. I believe there were some other co-designers as a way to deepen our understanding of race and equity and privilege. And the 21-day challenge is an opportunity to also invite, personal reflection and advocacy on the part of individuals, but also organizations. What happens during the 21-day challenge is that staff or individuals are invited to either read an article or an excerpt, to watch a video, some type of recording, or to listen to a recording, possibly a podcast. And as part of those activities, they're introduced to either new concepts, new terms, may not be new actually, but concepts, terms, or ideas surrounding racial equity. As part of that challenge as well, they'll be invited to reflect on what they learned, and also how they might integrate that or incorporate that into their daily operations. That beeping is my oven because dinner is cooking at the same time, so don't worry about the beeping. But as part of the 21-day challenge, as part of their reflection, obviously anyone who participates is encouraged to make that a habit. Thus, the 21-day Racial Equity Habit Building Challenge. And the habit is around learning, is around questioning, curiosity, and also around reflection and action. So once those come out, you will also be invited to participate. While it may happen within the 21 days, it can also, you may also choose to participate later on in the year, right? So the activities are not going to go away. You might choose to do it independently or do it with a team, take it home, participate as a family. Participation is completely voluntary. I want to make sure I say that because I think that learning is most impactful when we enter into it willingly and with a desire to learn. Of course, the library is going to support the time needed for staff to participate. The maximum amount of time that you would need to participate each day is about 15 minutes. likely less. So let's say a video recording is like 3 minutes. That might be the most for the day. But I think that's it. You'll hear more in the coming weeks.
So, Lucretia, is that an email or something? So if we indicate to you we'd like to do that, that's just going to be an email that's sent out during those 21 days?
Yes, so my apologies. Communications has this fancy thing that they do on the back end. When I send the content and material to them, they have a way to send it out, I guess, automatically each day. But yes, that will be an email. I try not to ask too many questions of what magic they do behind the scenes. But yeah, they will be supporting daily emails.
Look forward to that. Anybody have any questions for Lucretia?
No, I just want a statement. Lucretia does a great job, and she's not short on ideas. And she's right. Jeannie will figure out how to get the communications out. So if the Board of Trustees wants to be looped into the challenge, feel free to participate. So thanks, Lucretia.
Thank you. Shannon.
Hey,
You have
hi everyone, nice to see you. Probably the biggest thing I would like to just underscore from my report is Manchester. So we're closing up shop on Silverdale and we're going right into the next project. So April 4th, we will be closing Manchester. We're going to be doing a lot of work. Of course, you all know the Friends have built an addition to the building, and we're heading in now, building some offices, painting, carpet, bringing some new shelving in, new furniture in, all kinds of good stuff that takes us, this has been a years-long conversation with the community about what they hope to see, and it's great to finally see this happen. So our dream is to open by the salmon bake. The Friends have ingrained that in our head. So our Father's Day salmon bake, we're hoping to hit that deadline, but we will see. And I know Mike has that firmly ingrained in his head too. So between the two of us, we're going to try to help make that happen. The other thing that I would share, not on my report and semi-library related, Meals on Wheels has become a close partner for us, particularly with our mobile services department. Of course, they reach a similar audience that we hope to reach with our mobile services department, and Sylvan Way branch manager Bert Renderly serves on the board of that organization. They have an event coming up the first week of April called Miles for Meals, where they're fundraising for meals for the year. So this is completely voluntary, just putting it on your radar that we have a team called Library Love. And we are one of the bigger teams. I'm really proud of that. And we're just hoping to do some good work for a great partner in the community. So if you're interested, know that you can just Google Miles for Meals and look up Team Library Love. And any questions on my report or anything else?
Well, I have to say, looking through all of these reports, and I know that this is just such a team effort, whether it's moving from one branch to another in Silverdale, and then only to kind of hold your breath and have to do a similar project, if you will, in Manchester. I was really struck with how huge that has to be and how overwhelmingly positive and smooth and calm you all are, given that. So, we're really looking forward to seeing all that stuff in the new space when we get to the opening. Mm-hmm. Kristen, Human Resources.
Good evening, everyone. Well, you heard much of my report, I think, from Jason. I think we share our excitement with Craig coming on board tomorrow for our Director of HR. We'll finally be a little bit more of a staffed up team because it's been slim. We've been busy. The only thing I really would like to highlight from our report is the amazing work our Wellness Committee has been doing. We earned our Well City Award through AWC last year. It's our 6th consecutive year we've won this award. To get this award, you have to jump through a lot of hoops and do a lot of activities and really work on engagement with your teams and your staff. And 29 different requirements we have to meet and file. It's an undertaking, and there's no way any one person could do it by themselves. So I really kudos to our wellness committee who comes to the meetings, comes with ideas, supports the plan, our leadership as well that helps us achieve these goals and participates. So other than that, if you don't have any questions, that's my report stands as written. So thank you.
And the fact that you're the special K team. So
we are.
The Ks are united. Kirsten, Craig, Kelly, and Caitlin.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be hard to crack in the future if you go to add to the team, for sure. Well, that was that's a phenomenal accomplishment for the library, and I think not only is it great for engagement, it's not bad. It's not bad for the budget either, is it, Dan? When you start to accrue some savings in healthcare, so that's
right.
Yeah, good. Kwong, collections.
Hey, good evening, everybody. And as the person with 2 Ks, I like to believe that I'm an honorary member of the HR department. So I'm free to come and go as I please through the HR offices. But I want to continue on the HR vein, I guess, and just talk about how thrilled I am in terms of having a new CTS manager hired. Caitlin was of immense help in terms of getting the process scheduled in such a timely manner. Couldn't have done that without her, for sure. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Micah, our former CTS manager, and I think she left sizable shoes to fill for the next CTS manager. And I'm fully confident in terms of that Leslie will fill that vacancy completely, and she'll do a fantastic job at it. This is an area that she has an interest in, that she's worked in her entire career, and she has fantastic people skills as well, and she's going to be a fantastic manager for the team there as well. So just looking forward to the 18th, that's for sure. The next thing that I want to mention is regarding all the Silverdale work that the IT team is doing. I wanted to highlight the Wi-Fi work in particular. We bought this Wi-Fi system last May, and we finally received some parts for that access or for that Wi-Fi system a few weeks ago. So we were very worried about that. But the parts are here now, and it's been installed. We still need to do some configuring with it, but we're really excited to have this new Wi-Fi system. Our previous system was basically showing its age, and there's some really, really nice features with this new system as well that I'm really looking forward to sort of playing around with and see what we can do. The main one being that our new Wi-Fi system supports this new encryption mechanism called WPA3. And one of the features that it has is that on a typical open network like we provide to our patrons, or like what Starbucks would have at their coffee shop, obviously there's no encryption involved between the patron who connects to this Wi-Fi network. And with WPA3, there's a feature set that was an add-on to the protocol where each user of this open network could have their own encrypted session. So looking forward to playing around with that and see what we can do with it, because I think it's really a great feature for us. So with that, that's my report. And I'm happy to answer any questions, especially the technical kind.
That will come from me. Anybody else got a technical question? Good. Thank you very much. Tammy, I believe we have no correspondence.
Yep, no other correspondence.
Great, thank you. Okay, we're about to enter old business, and our first item of old business will require a brief respite to executive session to discuss the specifics of a pending sale of the Silverdale property. And it's pretty straightforward, we understand. So we talked earlier with Dan, and it should take no more than 15 minutes. So Tammy, if you will aid us in going to executive session, we'll be back soon. Looks like we all, oh, there we go. Looks like we all, let's come up here. Did that, great. All right. Dan, would you like to start us off with the next agenda item, please?
Yes, we have a resolution for you to entertain this evening regarding the sale of the current, or the old, and I guess the old now, the soon to be defunct Silverdale Library building. This is part of the financing package that we put together to, in addition to fundraising, to fund the construction of the new Silverdale Library. And when we originally put this plan together, we assumed we'd get, in the market conditions before the pandemic, we thought that we would get more for the dirt, so to speak, and less for the building. And it actually turned out quite the opposite, but they just kind of flip-flopped in our budget planning, which is great to balance out to what we originally planned to get. And so we have a purchase and sale agreement for you to review and to authorize through resolution, authorize Jason to execute that and anything other related to that. And I also want to say that we've received 2 offers for the building. And in our review process, and we work with a real estate attorney who's an expert in these matters, we review the offers not just for the price, but also for all the other terms of the offer that are being made, and the financing and the quality of the financing and all those other issues that go into that. And by far, the offer that we had before you was better than the other offer that we had, not only in price, but in other terms as well. And so we're really confident that we have the best offer. We got the best amount that we could for this market conditions for our taxpayers. And I'm happy to put this forward for you.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So having had, we've all had a chance to review that paperwork and had further discussion and an overview. I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to move that we approve resolution 2022/05, approving the sale of the Silverdale Branch Library property and authorizing signatories.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate, Dan mentioned this already, but just reiterate that both the proceeds from the sale of this property, the old Silverdale building, as well as the property that was sold, are funding the building of the new Silverdale Library. That the proceeds are going directly to that. It's not additional money coming into the KRL budget.
Yeah, thank you. And all in good timing too, so that's great. Any other questions or comments? All in favor of approving the motion as presented by Sue and seconded?
Aye. Yeah.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Now we're moving to new business. This concerns committee assignments of the Board of Trustees. We've actually been serving in these committees since the beginning of the year, but our bylaws actually don't have this formal action until March, so that's what we're taking today. We have an update in that Sue and I are both serving this year on the Finance Committee. Gina and Eric are both serving on the Strategic and Long Range Planning Committee. Sue is also serving in the role as a policy committee liaison because, in fact, the board as a whole acts as the policy committee. Given that we've been in those positions and supporting those committees, and assuming there's no further comments or questions from my colleagues regarding those proposed committee assignments, so I'm checking, I'm looking. The board seems to be in consensus of accepting those committee assignments and serving in those roles through the rest of the year. Thank you. As mentioned earlier, we have a number of policies that are up for review, and that work has started. And the first of which we're going to talk about tonight is one concerning meeting room policy. And Shannon's going to walk us through that.
Sure, thank you. So this policy, you'll see just some kind of general streamlining to clean up language, but I do want to underscore something that may seem insignificant, but I think will allow for cleaner process for staff and greater access for patrons. So what's not changing, I'll start there, is kind of the spirit of, we're retaining the spirit of how kind of for-profit activities occur in the space. So no advertising, no marketing, no events leading to the sale of something, no fundraising, no collecting dues at the door. That's still occurring. But what we are doing is loosening up language for activities where services may have been prearranged. Payment may be prearranged before the meeting or off-site. So, I think in this, especially in this post-pandemic kind of hybrid work world, it's very challenging to be able to kind of go down that rabbit hole with our patrons. A patron may be coming in to use a computer where they're developing a marketing plan that has been paid for by someone at some point, or meeting with a business client. We could go through many examples. And so we're hoping to kind of clear that up a little bit so that it allows a little bit more flexibility while retaining kind of the spirit of the policy. And that's really, I think, the bigger change within this. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Shannon, I think the one thing we did note that's still in there is the exception around being able to use that space for fundraising is really for KRL Foundation purposes. Is that correct?
Yes, definitely.
Anybody else have questions or comments, having looked through the material?
No, I appreciate the track changes. My only question is, how does the staff decide how to prioritize policy amendments? But I guess that's my only question. It's not specific to this policy itself, but just kind of your general process on how you select which policies you're amending or visiting again, reviewing.
I think this one came about really in an organic way because as we talk about reopening in particular, we will start to have people use our meeting rooms again. So I think right now, what we've seen is that as we reopen and our spaces are opening back up and people are using them in ways that they've used them before, it's a good opportunity to take a look at our policies and procedures and just like how we're meeting now, right? Policies and procedures have to be revisited because our service model is changing. And so right now, I would say that that's how we're going about revisiting our policies. And I think this one was one that had been in the works prior to me even getting here to Carol. And so, as I start to have one-on-ones with, I love the appearance by the cat, as I start to have one-on-ones with this fabulous leadership team, I'm able to then go and ask them about various policies, procedures, what's happening in their departments. And that's also a good opportunity to say, hey, how does this work? I know how it worked when I was in Chicago. I know how it's worked at other libraries. Then I can grab it. And so that's how this particular one came about. Shannon brought it and said, hey, this is something we've been talking about. I gave her a little bit of input, looked at the language, and we felt like as a team we were ready to go. And then that's the other part. We have leadership team meetings. And then we'll run these policies and procedures through leadership and see if they have any feedback on them. And then we'll bring them to this body. So that's how we'll do things moving forward. I think, and then one of the things I didn't mention is one of the many things Carol does well is, and one of the things we will be continuing to do and do it better than we've done it, is to really be able to get staff input on what's happening. And so one of the things I've heard over and over again from the staff is a need for transparency, a need to have sort of a, not a top-down structure, but also, it has to be all over the place, laterally, from the bottom up. And that's part of the listening tour, right? So we're getting out, talking to employees, figuring out what's important. And then the other part is dispatching work groups when we find out that there's something that needs to be fixed, things that need to be looked at. We'll be trying to figure out how we can dispatch work groups to be able to take a look at that thing and figure out what inputs can come from those groups. Because, you know, as we have people who work on the front lines who can give very real input on how it affects their day-to-day lives. Me sitting in a director's seat, I won't know unless I'm out at the branches. Shannon does a great job of being, you know, her job in public service is to be out there. She's on the front lines. She's working in places. Her and her team are pretty much all over the place. So we get a lot of input from that team in various meetings that we have in order to determine what needs to be brought to the table in terms of a refresh and then eventually being brought to this body. Does that answer your question, Tina?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And I just wanted to ask, in light of the public comments we received today and the concerns about transparency. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And transparency is important. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that. And I know Stephanie brought it up. Look, I'm new here. We have a new board. It's really important to hear that feedback. And thank you to all of the people who gave us the feedback and gave the board the feedback. Garrett, I believe, Olivia, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it Seamus or Samus? I think I've heard Seamus. And then Susan, thank you for the feedback. I think it's important if we're going to grow as an organization, we're going to grow as a board, that we be willing to listen to feedback. Constructive feedback is important. It's how we grow. I'm not perfect. The board isn't perfect. LT isn't perfect. And, you know, nobody's perfect. So we're going to have to be able to listen to our constituents to be able to get the feedback. And so we're going to all endeavor to do that. And I just want to also, the last thing I'll say is that in talking with leadership, they are fully on board with us being a transparent body and us making sure that we can work on behalf of our frontline employees and our constituents to be as transparent as possible and to be able to get the information that we need to them so we can make collaborative decisions. And, you know, I know we're going to do that. We're going to, you know, make sure that we grow and that we are better at what we do tomorrow than we were today. And so that's my charge just as an organization, is that each day we improve upon what we've done. And I know this board and talking with you all have the same view of our board. So we're going to continue to do that. I want to thank everybody for their participation in it. So far, it's been a big learning curve for me to be able to come in and see how we operate and to be able to have those tough discussions. So thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
That's a great question, Gina. Are there other questions for Shannon on this particular policy consideration? The screen just shifted, so it's like I'm still trying to track. Like, where did everybody go? So thank you. Well,
No, the board is changing.
I know it's just kind of around. Given that, I'll entertain a motion in support of this policy.
I'd like to move that we approve the meeting room policy as presented.
I'll second that.
Thank you both. Any further discussion, questions, or comments? Hearing none. Move to approve.
Aye.
Aye.
You. Good. Great. Shannon, thank you on you know, both the work that was done in advance to help prep the board in the consideration of that and for the presentation tonight. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
You've got the next three. They're a trifecta package here, it looks like. So if you want to take us through the first one, the records management policy, please.
Okay. And basically, for the next three policies, they are all new and they are exactly fulfilling what Jason was saying. Having our transparent policies. These are also built in conjunction with our records retention project that my team has been working on. And though not fun for everybody, we enjoy it. So in getting everything in place, I have, of course, the statement within the agenda of the purpose behind these, making sure we're in alignment for the Records management, all the trainings, there should definitely be a policy in place regarding the records management. What is the purpose of it? What are our goals for that? How are we supported and how are we supporting staff? My team is, working on training and tools for staff. Again, making sure we're transparent for public. Being there to answer any questions regarding it. So, unless anybody has any questions regarding the records management policy, and we did have them vetted too to make sure language is all correct and everything. So we did have legal vetting of all 3 policies as well.
Any further questions for Tammy on this specific records management policy? Can I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve the policy.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Susan. No further, is there any further discussion, comments, or questions for Tammy on this? Everybody ready to vote in support of the motion? Say aye.
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 Great, thank you. Tammy, we can now move to the public records policy, please.
Yes, and again, in accordance, making it transparent what the responsibilities are for the public records. This includes the public records requests and gives a full outline of the expectations, how to put in a request so that we're very clear how that process works, what our responsibilities are. And again, I don't know if there's any questions on this. This is standard process, but again, having a record in place and the support.
Okay. Take a motion to approve.
I move that we approve the public records policy as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Keep you very busy when there's only 5 of us. There's a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, or discussion on this policy? Okay. All in favor of approving this policy?
Aye.
Aye.
And the third final in this package is the policy for electronic and digital signature. This is another one of those policies that's kind of the result of a changing environment for sure. So Tammy, do you want to walk us through this one?
That's exactly it. It's just making sure that we are recognizing as we move into a new virtual environment that in using digital signatures, for example, with Adobe, that those signatures are being recognized as legit and legal signatures. And I've really got to thank my team because they helped me work on all 3 of these and doing a really good job. And we're just trying to make sure that we have it clear and available.
Yeah, all were quite detailed. Is there a motion to approve this policy?
I'll make that motion.
Gina gets to go on this one. Eric, I assume we'll take you as a second.
I'll second, yes.
Okay, any further comments, questions on this particular policy? Okay, ready to vote on approving this policy? All
Aye.
Aye.
We're slow, Sue. Thank you. That was a lot of work. It was a good advanced reading on part of the board and looking through all of those. It's great. Sounds like there's much more to come, particularly as we consider our present state moving forward. So to that. With that, we're down to the housekeeping items on our agenda, noting our next regular board meeting of the board on April 26th. Also, there's an upcoming foundation board meeting on Tuesday, May 10th. And a note always to look to the Kitsap Regional Library webpage to see the latest edition of Inspire or to see how to connect to the Facebook page, etc. So with that, we'll take any topics or issues for next month's meeting if you have any, or we can move to adjourn the meeting.
I move we adjourn the meeting.
Great. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Right.
Thanks, everybody.